Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you're joining us from. Hello, Adenike. Hello, Marius. Hello, Georges. I hope you're all doing well today. Hello, Rahat. Hello, Mubi. Hello, NS. That's all I see there for your name. Hello, Ricky. Hello, George. Hello, Andrew. Hello, Anjan. Hello, is it Fook? Hello, Alamide. Hello, Victor. Hello, Francis. Hello, Omajola. What is it? Yesterday, I think we had people joining from Nigeria, certainly some from India. I'm trying to remember what else I saw. Tanzania, Kenya, Vietnam today here. Hello, Vishnu. Hello, Joshua. Hello, Vineet. Hello, Irene. Hello, Alabi. Hello, Rotimi. Hello from, Marius. Hello from the Philippines. What's the time in the Philippines? That would be, what, about 10 p.m.? 2200, something like that? Or is it the middle of the night there? What questions do you have? Hello from France. Hello, Francis. Marius, 8:30 p.m. Well, all right, so 12 hours difference. I think I was thinking it was a bigger difference. Hello, John from Nigeria, 6 p.m. in India. We usually have lots of people, I think, from Nigeria. There is a schedule. If you are logged in to your Jupyter pod, if you go to Control Panel, if you look under Video Links, if you scroll down in the video links, you will see the things that say live streaming office hours. If things are working correctly, then on the left of the streaming office hours listings, they should be displayed in your local time. How do you log on to Jupyter Pod? You should have received an email from the administrators, which would have your login name and password. Hello, Dina from Indonesia. Hello, Queen from Nigeria. Hello, is it Nohe from Ethiopia? Mubi, Nigeria. By when do we need to watch those videos? Basically, you probably want to watch the videos for the lectures, kind of as soon as you can. Right? You basically want to try and keep up with the videos here. What can you learn in office hours? Well, as I said yesterday, I generally come to office hours and I don't have a particular agenda for the office hours. I'm here to answer your questions. And these could be questions about, something you don't understand from the notebooks, from the videos, something you don't understand about the mini projects. We could talk about the mini projects. So yes, I could help you with the mini projects in the office hours. So as I said, it's you guys, it's all of you who are basically kind of setting the agenda for the office hours, right? I'm here to answer your questions. The video downloads section. So these videos that you see here, the DS module introductory video, basic programming and variables, functions, logic and conditional expressions, these are the same videos that you could get on YouTube, right? World Quant DS module introductory video, that is the same World Quant DS module introductory video here. Basic programming and variables, that is, well, basic programming and variables. It's the same video. So it's just, it's a different way of getting to the videos. Under video downloads, you will also find a folder called Office Hours Videos. Which this folder is empty at the moment. It's because, well, I haven't uploaded the office hours videos into this folder. I will do that about once a week, towards the end of the week. They will be the exact same office hours videos, which are available on the playlist, right? Again, if you look under video links and you scroll to the bottom, you will find an office hours playlist. So this is a playlist with all of the office hours. If I click on this right here, then when this actually loads up, well, you will see a playlist. It will have yesterday's office hour on it, and it will have today's office hour listed, and it will say that it's live. Although for some reason this doesn't seem to want to load up at the moment. Of course, just to cause me problems. Right here is the list of the playlist, right? There's yesterday's office hour and there's today's office hour. And today's office hour is currently live at the moment. Right, so the office hours will show up on this playlist. As I said, later, towards the end of the week, usually Thursday afternoon or Friday, I'll put that week's office hours into this folder. But I usually only do that about once a week. Office hours, Vishnu, office hours, I guess you still haven't, you're not going to be able to hear me. oops, sorry, I misspelled your name. How long is the office hour session? They're an hour. Rahat, why did you get none for your code? It's because your function didn't return anything, so your function returns none by default. Georges, all right, so let's say a bit about mini projects here for those who maybe missed yesterday's office hours, haven't watched the video. So if you start your Jupyter pod and you go to my server, and under data course, let's look under Python. This is where you'll find the first mini projects. Under mini projects, here is where you find the first 3 mini projects. IN is the first mini project. Let's have a look at this here again. I need to import the grader. So as we said, right, compute the 5 smallest positive even numbers, provide these in a list. So, right, the 5 smallest positive even numbers. This is one way that I could get those 5 smallest positive even numbers. There are many ways that I could do this. One is, well, I just hard code the list. Another one is, well, I use the range function, but as it says here, provide these in a list, a Python list. So I create this list. This is what the list looks like. And again, submitting the numbers here, well, I get a grade here from the grader. What does immutability really mean, sir? Well, yeah, the kind of English definition is, yeah, it's unchangeable. So something like, for example, well, my even numbers list, even numbers is a list that is mutable. I could change my even numbers list. I could append to my even numbers list. I could append, let's append another even number here, not necessarily the next one. Right, the even numbers list is mutable. I could alter the even numbers list. I could change one of the elements in this even numbers list. Maybe I change the first element to 90. Right, so a list in Python is mutable. So a Python list is mutable. I could change the list. I could add to the list. I could delete from the list. I could change elements in the list. A string, a Python string, so S is, my name is Russ. A Python string is immutable. A Python string is immutable. So I cannot, I could index, into a string. Right? I could get a substring. I could get an individual character. Right? But I'm not able to assign a new value to an element in the string. Right? A string object does not report item assignment. I can't change like an individual element in a string. I can make a new string. I could assign a new string to the same variable, but that's making a new string. The memory of the Jupyter Notebook has a max. Does this mean if we reach the max it will stop? Not necessarily, but it might slow down. There are certain circumstances that if you, kind of fill up the memory, your Jupyter Notebook will crash. It kind of depends upon the so-called garbage collection. Do you have variables that you're no longer using and can be removed effectively by the interpreter? But certainly this amount of memory is going to be sufficient for finishing all of the mini projects in this course. Could you give us a real-life example where it's best to use a set over a list? Real-life example. That's always, right, what is the difference between a set and a list? There are a few differences. One, a list has an order. Whereas a set is a, unordered structure. A set doesn't contain duplicates. Could you explain a bit how to use a search syntax to debug your code? Well, yeah, I guess it's because, we, in some of the mini projects, we have, we put some asserts into some of the mini projects, right? These are basically checks. These are, things that we put in to maybe try and guide you to, I thought we had some asserts. Here it is. Like, this is an assert. This is basically, just a way to check that some condition is true. Let me come back here and make a new file. Benson, I'd like to know where we are. It seems just joined and floating. I'm just answering some questions that people are raising in the chat. X is 10 and Y is also 10. Assert X equals Y. right? Assert is just saying x equals 12. Right? All the assert is doing is it's just checking, is some condition true? So it's basically, I'm not sure I've ever used an assert in a statement that I've not written. I'm sorry. I don't think I've used an assert in a statement that I've written for myself, right? I've only kind of used them in a teaching sort of context. We use them sometimes in the mini projects, because, right, we want to check that something, right, here we've had a old function and we have defined a new function. And we're just, checking that we get the same results. Yeah, in this case, you could use x is y will give us the same result in a sense, except without throwing an error, right? An assert throws an error. Here you can't use the is with a literal, as you can see here. Whereas I could use an assert with a literal, a number. The is can be a little deceptive, perhaps. A is 12, 13, and 14. B is equal to A. Let's say C is equal to 12, 13, and 14. Let's see if we could. A is B is true. Assert A equals B. Oops, assert. A is equal to C is true. A is C is false. So I've defined A to be this list. I've assigned B to equal A. I've assigned C to be the same list as A. A is B returns true. A is C returns false. Why does A is B return true and A is C? Why is this the case? Right, I've assigned A to be this list. B is equal to A. C is equal to the same list as A. I said I tried A is B is true and A is C is false. Who wants to explain the difference between, or why I could say B is A? Yeah, A and B are referring to the exact same memory location. Yep, as Mohan points out, the IDs of A and B, which basically gives us a memory location. The IDs of A and B are pointing to the same memory location, whereas the IDs of A and C are pointing to different memory locations. Right, these last few numbers here differ. So is checking. Basically, are these variables pointing to the same memory location? The equalities right here are checking, are these lists equal element by element? Right? Both of these statements evaluate to true because we're just checking, are the lists the same element by element as I go through the list. So is and equalities are checking different things. So yeah, right. So yeah, back to assert. Again, an assert is just used to check, is some statement true? Oop, all right, so no help string on assert. That's a bit surprising to me. All right. As we said, the only time I might use an assert usually is in a kind of teaching context, right? Or I want to, maybe I have a function definition and another function definition, and I want to check, are the results from these functions the same? Maybe for some test cases. And that's what we're using the assert here. We're checking that these results from these two functions are the same. Let's see here. Francis was asking about different kinds of errors. Can you use an assert in a conditional statement? Well, we could try it out. It doesn't seem like that Python wants to allow me to use an assert statement in a conditional. Right? Can I use an assert in a conditional statement? I didn't know the answer to that because I've never tried it out. Well, we could try it out, and apparently Python doesn't want to will let me use an assert in a conditional statement. I mean, obviously, I could use this conditional statement here. Maybe we could assign it to a variable. Well, again, we could try. T is assert x equals 10. And that doesn't seem to want to allow us to assign it to a variable. So this here, me trying this out, would suggest, oh, I can't actually use an assert. I can't assign an assert, the result of an assert, to a variable. So I would say, no, you can't assign the value of an assert to a variable. You can, use it in this kind of for loop, as we're doing here in this mini project. Is data structure another way of saying data type? I'm trying to think how I can answer this question. Is a data structure another way of saying data type? In some ways, yes. There's maybe a slight distinction I could try to explain. This variable x. I would say the data type of the variable x is this x is of type int. X is of type int. I wouldn't say that x is a data structure. This variable a that I defined before is the data type is a list. I would tend to use the words data structure though to define a list. So I would say, well, true, I'm not understanding. I'm still wondering why we don't have these courses in our Jupyter Hub nor on this channel. I'm not quite understanding what you mean. This is just discussion. I'm just writing a notebook here to demonstrate some things, demonstrate some code to answer your questions. I mean, data structure I tend to reserve to use for the more complicated data types, if you like. I would tend to use data structure to refer to a Python list or a dictionary. And yes, as was suggested, data structures are classes. I tend to use the word data structure if I'm defining, if I'm thinking of a complicated class. You might need to, be slightly careful. There's a warning, Joseph. Everything in Python is a class, including the sort of things like an int. An int is a class. Everything in Python is implemented as a class, including something like an int, or a string, or a float. A list is a class in Python. The dictionary is a class. Everything in Python is a class. Can you help solve mini project 2, meaning the IP mini project? Yes. I kind of want to maybe not to get into the IP Mini project. I want to give people a few more, another day or two to watch some videos, try some things out for themselves. I'm happy to talk about the IP Mini project, but I, don't want to jump into it immediately. Mohammedi's office hours we offered every week. Yes, we have 8 weeks of office hours. I'm someone, I can't remember who, apologies, it scrolled off my screen. Problem 2 in the mini project, well, I mean, you want to define a function, and so define a function that accepts a list as input, returns a list where each element is multiplied by 10. I did see someone asking a question about this in the questions board, and perhaps not quite understanding what's going on. Right, again, well, right, this right here, if I take a list, and kind of multiply a list by a number, this is not going to multiply the individual elements in a list by 10. Right, what is this doing? It takes my list and makes 10 copies of this list and concatenates them together into a large list. So this right here is not going to give me a new list which is 10 times all the elements in the list. All right. If I want to, if I have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, right, I could define, let's redefine my variable x. X is now a list. What I want to generate is a new list that, has a number 0, 10, 20, 30, and 40. This is what I want to take x and I want to generate a new list. This is Unit 1 office hours. Why is this called office hours and not something like university or college hours? I don't know. Historical reasons. I'm sitting in my office. I'm sitting in my office at home. Maybe that's why I'm, wanting to call this office hours. I'm in my office. Now, Prince, I can talk about, I can talk a bit about string formatting in a moment. Right, I could, so my result, I could write a for loop for I in x result dot append 10 times I. Oops. This gives me a new list which is 10 times the numbers in x, of course. The more usual way that we would do this in Python is to write a list comprehension. So I said, now, Prince, I'll get to your question soon. Right, this is the more usual way that we would take a list and multiply all the elements in that list by 10 using a list comprehension. So, you know, I could do this kind of thing for problem 2. Right, I want to do this multiplication using a list comprehension, so I could say 10 times I for I in numbers. And mult of 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And 4 and 4 and 4 and 4, a bunch of 4s. Right, this function right here will take my list of numbers as input. This will take my list of numbers as input and will return a new list as output, where, right, I've taken every number in my input list and multiplied by 10. Once again, this is the office hours for Unit 1. How can you apply for Unit 2? The application for Unit 2 will be opened in a week or two. I will let you know when the application for Unit 2 is open. I and my colleagues have lots of things going on, so yeah, we're going to open up the application for Unit 2, but it's going to happen in like a week or two, maybe. No, this is Unit 1. This is the office hours for Unit 1. This is not the office hours for Unit 2. Will there be a big project at the end? Well, there's no planned big project. We might, you know, work on something towards the end if we have some time. But there's no like big project at the end that you have to turn in. The 5 mini projects are the, you know, this is what you have to submit, are the 5 mini projects. What is in the N mini project? Well, the N mini project is 2 questions. This is the N mini project I'm looking at right here. There's 2 questions. The IP mini project is, I forget, is it 6 questions? 5 questions, 6 questions, 7 questions, 5 questions. This is basically some Python functionality. You know, right? IP, kind of think of introductory Python. Oh, that's my problem for, I could alter the caption of the office hours. That's my mistake. I thought I changed that yesterday. I don't know if this will update things or not. Apologies, that's my fault. But yes, this is Unit 1. That's my fault for not remembering to edit the caption. This is Unit 1 office hours. Does WorldCon offer regular courses? I don't know what you mean by regular courses. Well, the only courses that we offer are, Unit 1 and Unit 2. I don't know if WorldQuant offers other courses because I'm not involved in other courses at WorldQuant University. The highest grade for one particular problem is 1. How do you access this video after the session? Again, I've said this several times. Let's stay on page. If you go to the control panel and you look under video links and you scroll to the bottom, you'll have a playlist, office hours playlist. This will have all of the office hours on this YouTube playlist. Yeah, the VC mini project is basically about object-oriented programming, as Joseph points out. Right, if you look at this, well, you get a grade by submitting to the grader right here. Right, this is explained in the N mini project. Christopher, this is Unit 1. Apologies for my error. This is office hours for Unit 1. I had it wrong in the title of the office hours. This is Unit 1. Olamide, that's not really an error message. I don't know what your code is that you wrote. That's not to me, that's not an error message. That's maybe just an error. That's a message that you weren't expecting to see. Zoo, if you have questions, you can submit them to the message board here. The grade, yes, is depending upon the answer that you give. Yes, you submit something and our grader checks. If you have written a function and you're submitting a function, if you're submitting a function, then our grader will run your function on some test cases. How do you get a grade 1 on all the problems? You submit the correct answers. That's how you get a grade in all of the grade of 1. You submit the correct answers. Can you always improve your answer? Well, we keep the highest answer. Right, we keep the highest grade you've achieved. If you look at your control panel under grades, the grade you see here is the highest grade that you have achieved on that question. How to complete all the projects before December? Again, you submit. You submit to the grader. You could work on these questions whenever you like because you're submitting them to the grader. Assert x greater than 1. I mean, yes, I could help you. That's why I'm here. You have 7.5 more weeks of this course, plus an extra 2 weeks at the end to submit the mini projects. Assert x greater than or equal to 0. Only positive numbers are allowed. Well, again, that's, yeah. Assert 10 greater than or equal to 0. Yes, that's true. Assert minus 1 or minus 2 greater than or equal to 0. No. That's an assertion error because this is false. Well, I redefined x to be a list up above here. Try square to accept assertion error as message print. 0 is also an even number. 0 is an even number, but 0 is not a positive number. We want 5 smallest positive even numbers. 0 is an even number, but it's not a positive even number. All right, you're overlooking the word positive right here. Let's see, what other questions have I not gotten to? Iterators and iterables. That's a kind of subtle distinction. There's lots of things which are iterables. Can you have a thread or a platform for sharing solution code? Well, code can be different quality, yeah. Vishnu, I don't know how else to answer your question, how to complete the mini projects. You have to submit using the greater.score function. I don't know how else to answer your question. Well, I guess I probably don't want you to share your solution code on the solution boards. I mean, but we could talk about different coding styles and so on. String formatting. Yes, thanks for a reminder. String formatting. Print. Here is a list Um, I'm less familiar, I have to say, with the percent formatting because it's kind of no longer used in Python. I mean, it's still possible to use it, but I never use it myself, so I always have to look it up to remind myself about formatting. There's a third kind of string formatting, which is kind of the accepted. It's. I think this is becoming the new standard, so-called F strings. Partly because they are easier to read, they are less code to write, and they are faster. And a number, oops, let's see here. The format method, right, you basically are using placeholders. Right, the format method is we're using like square brackets right here for placeholders. And the X will be inserted into the first placeholder, and the Y will be inserted into the second placeholder. I could reverse these if I wanted to do so. Of course, 10 isn't a list, and this isn't a number, but the format statement allows me to do this kind of thing, right? If I don't use numbers, yeah, I cannot switch from automatic field numbering to manual field. You have to use only one or the other, I believe, right? If you just use curly braces, this will go by position. Or you could use numbers, and this will, do numeric kind of, as I said, right, like 0 and 1. Well, this will insert X into position 0 and Y into position 1. And I think we should be able to like reuse, something, right, in this numbering format, right? Element 0 in my format. So the format statement right here, basically we insert the values of these variables into our string. With F strings, well, we are just inserting the name of the variable inside of the curly braces. With F strings, you could do actual computations. 10 times 3 divided by 17. Right, and Python will just do this calculation, right? Don't overlook the small f in front of the quotation marks. So me personally, I prefer the F string manner because it's easier to read. I don't have to look at this format statement and say, oh, X is going to end up here and Y is going to end up here, right? I just insert where I want X, the variable X, to appear in this F string format. Do the videos cover the complete mini projects or need to look for external resources? You should be able to complete the mini projects with the material that you find in the videos. Joseph, when I get to talking about the VC mini project, I can say more about this. I think I saw your question on the question board, yeah, and someone posted their own answer, which is basically the idea. Yeah, the a.old is basically checking, can you stop your clustering method? Can you stop your clustering method, early if your clustering doesn't change? All right, so I'm going to end office hours today right here. As I said, watch the videos. We could start to talk about the IP mini project in the next day or two, but ideally you have tried things out for yourself. You come prepared with your questions. I much prefer the F strings myself. I basically use F strings in my code that I write these days because I much prefer them. So yeah, we'll see you at tomorrow's office hours. Be safe, be well, and be nice to other people. So I'll see you tomorrow. You should be able to use F strings in the functions you write where appropriate. But your function, say your function here in your problem 2, your function needs to return something, not print something. This function needs to return a new list, not print it out. So we'll see you tomorrow.